So I know I took a while to say this last video. I laid on my bed and I started thinking about some things. And I said, okay. So in retrospect to everything that we've been talking about today, how do we hit racism at the top? I believe if we hit CIA, I really believe that CIA has a lot to do. We have to hit the government. If you put the government under control, or you put real minority or balance, I believe you'll kill some stuff. Just like we got in Texas, we got two Mexicans. We got a Mexican governor and a Mexican mayor. And from my understanding, Castro is not wanting to pay black lawsuits. That's what everything stems from. Racism with him and Perry, you know. Those two are still out there, I guess. I hadn't been to Texas, but I can only imagine. Perry's still making speeches, and Castro's running for position again, but Obama's still up there. You know, what do we do when we have people who are walking in the fear of a president that should have already been taken down? You have CIA hanging out with them. We had police officers that complained about them. Okay, you're saying, because I got several police officers on my Facebook, y'all, so please don't put any drug codes up there. But the question is, you're saying that police officers should be hit when the folks that are coming through the doors are not supported by police officers. They're actually supported by CIA. So what if a CIA, who's also considered a police officer, put on his uniform, put on his doctor, or not doctors, but police officer uniform, and he goes out and he walks in the position, because, I mean, they're not regular police officers, and we all have witnessed to that. They're CIA, okay? And then what do we see in America? Come on, because y'all know any business that have the majority of one color is a lawsuit, right? How many of y'all afraid of CIA? In any business, when you have the majority, if you have, that's why they started picking tokens. And then what happens, the token pleased some folks, so you had some tender Caucasian folks, and the token worked their way up the ladder, and some tokens had, okay, I see what y'all doing, let's even this out. That's what we're supposed to do. That's why they didn't want to open up the door. And that's why we made a law to have those doors open to allow other races in any business. You think if you go to Atlanta, you will see the predominantly black, and you do, and sometimes, excuse me for doing that in your ears, but you do see a lot of blacks working in a company in certain areas, but you always see them, the managers, not black. Okay, governed by white or Hispanic, Mexican, whatever. But you have the majority of blacks. That's another picture you have to look at. I mean, how is it that we have about 1,000 blacks in a company, and then you look at the management and they're white? Yeah, that's another bad picture, right? Because you would think, come on, because that shows something. Now, even though it may look unfair, you have a lot of blacks, and then you got one white, and he's the manager. That would show someone is trying to, I mean, someone's heart was to do right, but yet still show a little partiality. Because you're not going to find a manager in a black company and not have a black manager, not when you have predominantly black. And you got to also look at the picture. Who's over it? So that's actually exposing some things. Yeah, because sometimes good Caucasian folks, or let's just say people with money, Caucasian folks are known to be the one with money because of racism, because of government racism. Yeah, because of government, because government, as I stated earlier, they dictate the environment, the atmosphere, and the natural. And so you have a lot of Caucasian, several Caucasian people who are billionaires, millionaires. You got more than just Trump. Trump is the only one that's considered the open celebrity. And you have Bill Gates, who was out there because of the software. Publicity made them big enough to come out into society. But we also have hidden Caucasian. R-rigs, they're mostly Caucasian folks. You know, that's government. Government knows everything because they have the satellite. They can see where there's oil coming up. They can see where there's gold. They can see where there's diamond. They get information. Scientists work for the government. They tell the government their findings. And if the government heart is to be racist, they would send a Caucasian man over there to govern that. And they may hire some blacks and Mexicans for the job. But we know that government is a racist entity. Now, we have been allowed as blacks and some Mexicans, Hispanics, to climb up the ladder of the government. But we can only climb so far, okay? But we're trying to get it to where there's no racism. Not black, not white, not Hispanic, not Mexican, no racism. But we do want to make sure the government is filled with Americans more than any other country. And right now we have the majority of non-Americans in position than we have Americans. And so that's another reason you may have racism. And if it is non-American, they're based on Caucasians' belief. Believe me, be. And so when we look at a picture like the CIA and we see nothing but white boys in position, yeah, a lot of times you're afraid of an entity because they use the law to enforce. They enforce laws that they don't even live by. And so we see them in position, and what they're doing in those positions is breaking laws. Now we have a black president who is white, and they cannot even, and it's, you know what? It's not that they don't want to arrest him now. I believe that. I believe they have fear. Obama is one of those ones, just like a black person. He's going to use a whole lot of tactics. He's got skills to do what he's doing. He may plant some bombs, but would you allow him to stay there and continue to kill without the bombs? I mean, if you would allow Obama to go ahead and set out those bombs in the very beginning and yet still try to pursue him, you probably would have saved some lives. Even with the bombs, he would probably would have killed some folks. But right now he's still doing it. He's not using, y'all running scared, afraid of threats. He's talking about bombs and he's planning them. Oh well. But he is a bomb, and he's exploding every day in anger. He's living a life of anger. And they, not just Obama, they are killing. In groups they are killing, right? Because they're taking them off, and they're holding them hostage. And we're living in America to where we have to get up. We are free, and we're fighting. We just got to keep fighting because we don't have slavery, not in America. And they cannot come and get you off American soil where you were born and raised free and place you into slavery. In fact, because I am human and I'm not an animal, I will fight slavery on any continent because they're not animals. It would break my heart to even go into another country and see slavery. Regardless, I will fight. Regardless, because they're not animals. That you're telling me that I'm just like them. They can't have, they're spoiled white boys. That's what they are, spoiled Ku Klux Klans. They got to have it their way. Their mom and daddy done pacified them. I'm going to bring their levels down to ours. I want to show y'all something because it's a mental thing. You've taken a book, something that happened years ago that we don't even know if it existed, and we make up a couple of characters. Yeah? Well, we got some folks that said they were in slavery. Yeah, you had a Harriet Tubman. You had someone just die recently here on the bus. What's the one that refused to get up? Yeah. And she could have basically been dealing with folks just like today. And we had it to where it was segregated whites and segregated blacks. And they can do it today? No, they can't. All you have to do is knock the fear off some of these whites that don't agree with them. I believe we have more people out there non-racist than we have racists. And a lot of folks are saying nonviolence. We can't preach nonviolence anymore because violence of a racism, a racist has taken our people and placed them back into bondage. Yeah. And so you can't start a fight and not finish it, right? That means if you know there's a Ku Klux Klan out there and he's fighting and then he has the government to back him, you mean tell me that war can break out? You mean to tell me that other countries have been supporting slavery to where they will fight our country just to really ban slavery? You mean to tell me that America was pinpointed to be a slave free for some as long as they keep their slaves? Come on, did we really do anything? Amen. Amen. Because just like they teach us that evolution makes us monkeys, the Bible teaches us that white people came from a plague. So we can all throw all kind of gang signs across the table. That's right. They can tell us what scientists, which, like I said, government-based, race-based, scientists tells us that evolution said we were apes, which makes us animals. But our Bible, which has been here for years, longer than the scientists, tell us that white folks come from a sickness. That's right. That's what it tells us. That sickness was when what do you call that? Skin cancer, when your body turns white. Amen. That's what we teach. but we don't teach it in hate. We don't even teach that anymore because it's got so much hate in it. And as long as you know I'm talking like you, I'm more gifted than you, why would you want to talk about an animal, right? Because we can all be animals. Our nature is to be an animal, every last one of us. And from what we understand, if I look so much like you, as I have eyes, I woke up right, I have a nose, everything you have, I have, but our skin color is different, and you want to call us an animal because we're black, we know already that's a myth. That is a myth. You got to give me more, you got to distinguish a little bit more, be able to distinguish a difference between you and I a little bit more than to say we're animals and not yourself too. We're all animals. That's right, baby. We're capable of acting ugly. I believe the myth more than the skin color, pigmentation issues, than I would believe somebody being an ape and I look just like them. You got to come on and help me here. Because if I'm walking looking just like you, and the only thing different is my skin color, but yet because we're a darker color, we're animals, you're smarter than that, Mr. Man. Come on, scientists, give me a little bit more than to say somebody's skin color makes them an animal. And that means we can still be classified in the same group of animal species because we're built, look, appetite, we operate the same. What makes you whiter? What makes me darker? What's natural? What is more natural when it comes to skin color? Because of the environment, skin color changes. And the more the heat, the darker the skin because of the process of tanning. That's right. And so if we're living in a life, a world that is alive, of course there's going to be heat because we revolve around the sun. So it's more likely to have skin colorized color than it is to have no skin color. And I know that's coming from a black girl, so it's really hard. But you got to understand, you're not trying to show anybody. I'm trying to be real here. I want to break down scientists' method of trying to discourage and trying to make one more than the other. We do have racism. And there's God. There's a God who's bigger than any country out there. He showed us when he threw the meteorite at Russia, when he sent a hurricane and he flipped China. Come on, Indonesia. We're not going to talk about the hurricane that hit them, and yet America. Very few experience what those overseas experience. They get the volcanoes. They get the earthquakes in abundance. Yeah, that's nature. No one can get accused of being racist when nature hits them. And so know that you have a big God, that if he tells you and he calls you to begin something, he's faithful enough to finish it. Amen, amen, amen. Here in America, from my understanding, there was a season where I guess Obama was flipping on the black side because unless it was all just I believe it was all just a setup. There was a time when the white folks was almost into slavery. And Obama and Michelle had I want to say skillfully, actually put other countries in bondage. Do you not know Obama's known to be running other countries? Amen. His skillfulness and his tactics, and in fact, he's from those countries that he's operating in. He's been there. He's ruling many of nations. It's Obama. Why do you think he's doing that? Most say that he's Bin Laden, which means he's a terrorist. Terrorists are known to be familiar with their surroundings and others. That's how they create their attacks. That's right, baby. That means he already knows the in and out of every country. He knows the system. He has people already planted to give him information. So he can go into any country and become successful because he's been examining that country for years. And not just that, because from my understanding, the government pays off a lot of these tourists to do damages and dangers, especially in the season when they want to make the paper. Yeah. And so a lot of the information that tourists have, they receive from that government because that government is known to work with them. And also groups we call the mob, groups that are hidden that we know that are never captured. We have a lot of media that are paid to put out information they want us to hear, information they want us to receive. So they create and they lure us by something that is not real. Okay, so we still have to be. I know it's discouraging because we rely heavily upon the media for our information. but we're dealing with the government. And I don't want anyone to go into a form of depression because the government is a big entity. And yet they do tag team to do what they want done. Yeah. But again, I want to stress the point to all racism. The only thing that makes us different other than our fingerprints, our skills, our creativity, is our skin color. Other than that, we're a perfect image of one another. Yes, we are. I look just like you. Paint us the same color, you probably couldn't tell us apart. That's the way it is. That's why he made the variety. He allowed it. And we know that racism is not just with the Caucasian, but we know that racist amongst the Caucasian was and still is very big, especially when it's the government that's doing it. I just don't believe in racism in our government. And so I do believe that if we deal with CIA, who has the majority white, if not all white. I think someone said when they emailed me just now that CIA is all white. But that is a lawsuit. And they know better than be all white. And then they'll go pick folks from other countries. Like I told you, they told us about the government bringing over another Obama, which is someone who looks black. And that's in order to deceive. Yeah. In order to deceive. And so we got to see them, and I'm serious about that. I know a lot of y'all walk in fear. I ask God to help us to become like CIA. We want that same ability to go out and say, you know what, I hate you too. Because that's what they do. I don't like you, so I can kill legally. No, you can't kill legally. They're regular people. And until we get that word out, they're no different. Police officers should be held accountable, regardless of how long they've been on the force. We need to deal with them accordingly. They cannot kill because they want to. They cannot destroy because they have a badge to.